Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and today I'm continuing my series of Mash Wikia reviews with the 6th episode of Season 4. The episode is called Hey Doc. So, there's basically several plots going on in this episode. Basically, there is a sergeant who's planning to leave home, but he wants to start a Korean restaurant, and he has a lot of stuff with him, so he can't fly home. He needs to take a ship. Hawkeye and B.J. is like, yeah, sure, whatever. But they need a third doctor signature, and that's going to have to be Frank, because, a medical illness is preventing him from flying. But doing this as well, there are snipers coming into the camp, so that's causing problems. And two people arrive, and they both have an impact on the plot regarding the snipers. But also, we get to see some off-the-book medicine. So first, a British patrol arrives to try to chase the sniper off. And the lieutenant has an ingrown toenail that he needs taken care of on the down low, because if his command finds out about it, he could be denied a promotion or leave. Because apparently that's a big problem in the British Army, I guess. But anyhow, so they treat his toenail and exchange he'll get them 2 bottles of high-end scotch, which they do receive, and then the sniper destroys them. So Hawkeye and B.J. are like, okay, something needs to be done. And so earlier in the episode, a colonel from the 1st Cavalry Division arrives and to visit one of his men. Really, he arrives because he got a little close to a local individual who had had some VD, if I understood the language correctly, because he kept it, he didn't want it to get out after all, so he doesn't really say what it is, but I pieced the pieces together, so. And so Hawkeye treats him on the down low, just gives him a shot of penicillin, but later during the sniper attack, Hawkeye rings him up, it's like, hey, so you said you want a favor. Sounds like then, based on the one-sided phone conversation, he wasn't going to give a favor in return. But Hawkeye say, well, because of the sniper attack, I might have to move my private records into the official records. And then all of a sudden, a tank shows up. They're only for 24 hours, but when Hawkeye says that the records were destroyed, the colonel is like, you know what? You can have it for a week. And then, of course, I should also mention, too, during all this, that when the colonel first arrives to visit the camp, Margaret is definitely takes an interest in him, and Frank is jealous of. So what does Frank do? He gets into the tank because he wants to show off to Margaret. And then he panics and runs over a couple tents and also a jeep, which Colonel Potter then shoots the jeep, not Frank. No matter probably how much Hawkeye wanted the other way around, it was a jeep. But basically, remember, Colonel Potter is an old cavalryman, and if his horse was injured in the field of battle, the horse was often put out of its misery by shooting it. And so Colonel Potter did the exact same to a jeep, which is funny. But apparently there is an old World War II cartoon drawing that depicts a cavalry officer doing the same thing as well. And then B.J. and Hawkeye get Frank to sign the Sergeant Kimball, that's the sergeant's, by the way, discharge forms to allow him to go home on a ship, basically by saying, like, you were only trying to stop the tank rather than, being dumb. Colonel Potter saw right through it, by the way. Overall, this is a fun episode. The wiki for MASH actually describes this episode in the summary as another For Which Day, so basically whoever wrote the wiki article for this episode is calling back to the episode of For Which Day. And yeah, this episode does kind of have some similarities to that episode in terms of plot structure, with more vignettes going on, and the things are all loosely connected. But I would say this one's actually more connected. There is a through line between most of the different plot points. The only plot point that doesn't really connect is the scene between Radar and Klinger, which I'm like, okay, how does that relate to the rest of the stuff? And what were they actually doing? Were they actually preparing for a talent show? I'm honestly not sure. I don't think the episode, I think they just wanted a fun Klinger bit and they threw it together and it doesn't really connect with the rest of the episode in any way. But that's not mean it's a bad thing. It just means it's an out of place scene that makes you laugh because it doesn't connect at all with anything else going on. But overall, like I said, it's a fun episode. Now, the wiki does make note that there is some uniform inconsistencies, but this is MASH. Inconsistencies is a thing. MASH doesn't really care about continuity, really. Yes, as it goes on, continuity becomes a little bit better, but it's mostly character development continuity, which is honestly the most important part. And as long as each episode is internally coherent, in a sitcom, that's all you need. You don't need big story arc, character, or continuity development between events and timeline. That's not what MASH is, and we shouldn't be applying to MASH the same rigor continuity we apply to modern day serial stories. And also, yes, I studied history. I love history. I would love if maybe the uniforms were a bit more historically accurate. But again, MASH is not that kind of show, so I can give it a bit more of a pause. It's kind of the same thing like with the historical inaccuracy in Hogan's Heroes. Yes, it's historically inaccurate. It's not at all something that would have happened. And MASH is actually better for historical accuracy than Hogan's Heroes. But that doesn't mean it ain't fun. And these kinds of shows, that's what they're there for. They're all for fun. Could they have done a more serial, historically authentic story and still have it fun? Yeah. But that's not what MASH is. MASH is just a fun show. And it is fun, and I love it. And really, I just love how we get more episodes that are fun but still deal with something. This episode doesn't deal with anything too much, but you have that plot line of two people who get off the record medical help because basically they either made a mistake or were dealing with something else, and something slipped by them. That probably happens a lot in the military, things that soldiers do that they don't want on the record. And probably is also more realistic of war. Like, soldiers are not going to be perfect all the time, guys. Remember that. But that's what I got to say. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you, always.